Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Amar Elm, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to be joined by Kyle Smith, better known as HR Kyle, the founder and CEO of HR Kyle Services, a transformative HR consultancy and leadership development firm dedicated to making hiring, retention, and career advancement simpler and more human for businesses and professionals alike. Kyle, welcome to Founders Future.
Amar, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for having me.
Anytime. I always like to start from the beginning. So take me back to before you started your company, HR Kyle. What were you doing beforehand? And then what was really the motivation behind starting the company?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking that. So I have been in corporate HR for well over 25 years and literally grew up in the field of HR. I started as an intern and then worked my way up. Spent the last 22 years of my career in various management leadership roles for companies of different sizes and in different industries. And the one thing that I noticed throughout my career, and especially as I progressed, that I noticed the field of HR and a lot of organizations were getting away from the most important part, and that's the people.
Mm.
You had a lot of organizations talking about employees are our most important asset, but they weren't really living that credo. So, as I was in my last role with a wonderful company that I really enjoyed, but I knew we were going to be selling off a majority of the business to another organization. And as that role was winding down, I formed HR Kyle Services in February of 2024. And then as the other role wound down and my last day was in September, I quite literally left that organization and came here the next day full time. So I've been
Mm.
full time in HR Kyle Services since September of 2024. And again, build
Nice.
around that commitment, Amar, of everything we do, realizing that your employees, your people are really the most important thing in any type of organization.
I love that. That is so powerful, and it's so important to get that message out to more corporations because it's truly the case, especially with AI nowadays on the cusp. I'm
Yeah.
imagining you're seeing a lot of changes there. Let's dive into what you're currently doing to give the listeners more context. So, start me off with who would you say is your ideal customer? Who do you love to work with? And then from there, let's dive into the different offers and services you provide.
Yep, absolutely. So a big part of our business is on the business to business side. And we work with organizations really of varying sizes, but primarily 50 to about 250 employees in manufacturing, supply chain, technology, nonprofit, and academia. And
Mm.
our sweet spot really is in that talent management, talent acquisition area. And quite literally, we work with organizations on projects as small as they have an opening that needs to be filled, up to and including we're revamping their entire hiring process. We also get involved in some projects around talent management, namely internship programs, mentoring programs. We also assist in succession planning as well as training. And then, when need be, unfortunately, this happens sometimes when there's a need to downsize the workforce for some reason, we work with organizations to make sure that we do that not only in a legal manner, but in an ethical manner. And that
Mhm.
includes providing outplacement services to those employees that are impacted.
Yeah, that's powerful. Of all the various different offers and services you provide, which would you say makes up the bulk of the revenue for your company?
It really does come around that right now, it relates to talent acquisition because that's the biggest challenge so often that an organization faces.
Mm.
There are all these individuals that are one shape or another looking to work for your particular company, but how do you decide which person is that quote unquote right person for that role for your organization? So the biggest part of our effort is just working with organizations around that talent acquisition topic.
And is that done for you recruiting? What does that specifically look like?
Amara, can be all of the above. It can be the one piece that's strictly recruiting. As I mentioned, they need assistance in a particular area, marketing, sales, accounting, HR, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And we're working with them to understand their organization, understand how people are successful in that role, understand the impact that role can have, and truly understand what makes a successful person. And then we work to find that person for them. So we take pride in the fact that we're really, for lack of a better term, and maybe this sounds a little cheesy, we're looking to create a really nice marriage between a good quality organization that has a good quality role and a good quality professional who can really fill that role well. So
Mm,
we're not the type of agency that just gathers up a bunch of candidates and throws them over to the employer and see what stick. We try to get to know our candidates. A lot of the candidates that we will share, we've known for some period of time. We even take the time to just talk with that person, understand their work history a little bit, where they've been, what they've done, where they're successful, where they do their best work, where they want to go with their future. And then by having that more in-depth understanding, we're able to make these marriages much more successful.
Typically, how long is that engagement? Let's say I'm a company, in supply chain and I need some sort of talent. How long are we working together? What does that look like? Do I only pay if they're placed? Do I pay up front? Walk me through that.
All great questions. So first and foremost, you're only paying if they're placed. And
Got
by
it.
the way, we keep our fees very simple. We have a flat fee, no matter the role, of 15% of the first year's salary. So right
Wow.
off the top, that is extraordinarily competitive in the marketplace. But beyond that, when you mention about time, that's also something I take a great deal of pride in, where a lot of our competitors, quote unquote, will take months to fill a role. We quite often only take weeks, maybe a month and a half, because we already have this candidate pool that we're working from that we know
Mhm.
really well. So when an
Got
organization reaches out to us, as we're talking, our staff is immediately thinking of people in our network that we can forward over. So right
it.
off the bat, we're able to make that a quicker process. We can typically share candidates with that employer within 3 to 7 days, which is almost unheard of in the industry. The other
Yeah.
part that makes us special is those are candidates that we've already have a good feel that would make probably a pretty good fit for that employer. So again, it's speeding up that process because we've taken the time to get to know the not only the candidate but the employer as well. So our
Mm,
engagements compared to our competitors are much shorter, and more importantly, they're much more successful. And in
yeah.
fact, we put a guarantee into every placement. We will replace that person at no cost in the first 30 days. And quite honestly, thank thank goodness, probably because of our process, no one's taken advantage of that yet, and I don't anticipate that they will.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. And those are huge benefits of working with you, especially the fact that you already have the candidate pool and you can do so efficiently and quickly. That's huge. I'm curious your perspective on this because I've talked to other recruiting companies, other HR consultancies, and some of them will charge an upfront fee. So like maybe a couple $1,000s, something like that, just as a retainer. And I actually think it's a decent business model. It works, right? If you position it correctly. Is that something that you ever thought about implementing?
Not for a split second, because I want the pressure on us to deliver the results. And I want that organization to know that I have enough confidence that we are going to find the right person. And moreover, we're going to find the best person for them, that I'm willing to take the gamble on our team. And it's my belief, and I hear what you're saying about getting some money up front and whatever, but I want our people hungry, and I want to make sure that organization that we work with knows that we're fully committed to finding the best
Mhm.
person. Because you and I both know, and we see it in sports so many times, that person gets that big contract, and all of a sudden they don't quite play as well. They're not quite as good as they were before. I don't want to introduce any of that risk into our process. Not that I think it would happen if we were paid up front, but I want to make it crystal clear to our clients. It's our reputation, it's my
Mhm.
name, quite literally, on the line to deliver the best candidate. And I have full confidence in what we can do.
Yeah, I like that. When it comes to customer and client acquisition, what are you doing from a lead generation and marketing front?
A big part of it up to this point has been as a result of my network. Again, I've taken great pride over my career in nurturing, growing, keeping that network that I have alive. And as I opened up this organization, I found a lot of our leads just came from that. It's people that I've known for a long time, worked with, worked for some different capacity. And as
Hmm.
soon as they found out we were quote unquote open for business, they started to reach out. Now, realizing that I wanted to do better with that. Of course, we want to grow our business. And that model that I shared is a good way to start a business and have a good reputation to build. But I knew we needed to take the next step. So, very recently now, we have added a role called Client Success Manager. And this individual will be responsible, obviously, for growing our customer base, but growing it again under that model that I speak of. I really want our clients to understand that we're a trusted resource and that we are a resource and that we are a partner. So from this point forward, literally this week, we're going to start doing some more outreach. And again, part of it is to grow our business, but I also want to make sure our existing customers are very well taken care of. And that's something that I take a lot of pride in because, Amar, I've been on that other side. I know what it's like to sit in that HR seat and to work with different companies. And there are some companies that are good and some companies aren't so good. But my standard for this organization as we work with our clients is that we want to be great. And one of the ways that you be great is you try to be proactive with your clients and you try to
Yeah.
stay in touch with them and you make sure those communication lines are open and you make sure that you're available to them when they need you to be. And the other important thing is you never want them to doubt how much you appreciate their business.
Yeah, I like that a lot. What kind of outreach are you thinking of doing? Is it going to be cold email, LinkedIn? What's the idea there?
The beauty of it is nothing here is going to be cold because we have so many contacts. I alone, I've lost track of how many. I probably have 7,000 contacts. So we've got this list of people
Awesome.
that we've known throughout the years. And of course, that's just myself. As part of the organization as well, we've got other HR professionals who also have networks. So we don't regard any of our outreach to be cold. It's all going to be warm because
Hmm.
it's going to be, hey, Amar, just checking in on you again. By the way, I'd like to introduce so and so. They're going to be our client success manager going forward, and they'll be more available to you as you need assistance, and they'll probably check in on you from time to time. So for us, there's really no need to do cold outreach because if you're someone that's keeping that network alive and you're nurturing it and you're checking in on your contacts and they know that you're still out there, that's never a cold lead. That's always a warm lead. So this client success manager will be walking into all situations where it's a warm relationship already.
Got it. Okay, very interesting. I'm curious, you're almost a year in, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken, right? We're 3 weeks away.
Yeah, who'd have thought? September's
Yeah.
coming up.
What do you feel has been some of the biggest challenges? Because I know a lot of business owners listen to this. I'm curious what you faced so far in year one and how you were able to navigate it.
Yeah, great question. So I have no problem saying I made a few mistakes along the way. And I take full ownership of that. But I knew that it was going to be a part of having a business.
Of
And
course.
we all know if you take this leap of faith to start your own business, it truly is a leap of faith. You're never going to be fully ready. So that's the first thing I'd say. If there's someone out here that's on the fence and saying, I think I want to do this, or maybe I do, there's no better time than now. You'll never be completely ready. Take that leap. You're going to make mistakes. The key with your mistakes is a couple of things. One, learn from them. And two, don't repeat them. And three, just as importantly, show yourself some grace. You're going to make some mistakes. Make sure they're not so big that they bankrupt your business, obviously, but you can afford to make some small mistakes. And really, when I reflect back on our mistakes, and I was just talking about this earlier this week with my team, they weren't really mistakes. They were learning opportunities. They were things that we had to go through then to reach this point now. And I'm very excited about where we are. I'm very happy about where we are. But again, to come back to your original question, I think a few things is marketing. What we're offering and what we want to do is special in the marketplace. And I worked with a few different marketing firms that just didn't quite get it. And I was probably a little too generous with them, maybe gave them a little bit too much time to do their thing and try to see if it could work out and so on. But if I learned anything, I probably, when things don't feel like they're going well, don't be afraid to pull the plug a little bit early. You need to, because the sooner you pull the plug, the sooner that you can get your ship pointed in the right direction. So that's
Mhm.
probably one thing. The other thing that surprised me a little bit, and we have a couple of interns every semester, at least one that we'll host. And I was talking to one of our interns, and I said, If you're ever thinking about starting a business, something that's going to surprise you is on a typical day, I have anywhere from 10 to 15 people that are coming at me in some way, shape, or form, email, LinkedIn, phone call, whatever it is, text, that are trying to sell me something. And
Mm,
it takes a lot of my time to respond to that, because something I take pride in, Amar, is, and hopefully you've experienced this in our interactions, I quite literally reply to every email. I think I owe that to people, even if it's an unsolicited email. I owe them the reply of nothing else than to say no, thank you.
mm,
So that 10 to 15 that are coming at me through all these different channels, and it's Facebook, it's amazing how people can find you.
yeah.
We're all very findable. And it's literally 10 to 15 sales pitches a day that I need to address. And there are a few that I will accept and we'll have a conversation. Sometimes it's so I can learn something to grow our business now, maybe in the future. I look for those valuable contacts. So I don't think that I dismiss everyone, but even that takes time to go through and say, okay, is this person worth having a further conversation with? But yeah, the biggest surprise has been all of these sales pitches I get on a daily basis.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. When you think of the next 12 months, so now you're 12 months in. When you think over the next 12 months, what are some milestones? What are some targets? What are you really aiming towards?
Yeah, we've got those written down because we're a big believer in goals, and we're also a big believer in having them front and center. I won't get into the specifics necessarily because a big part of our goals, Amar, revolve around providing top quality service. So
Mm,
one of the incentives that I build in for our client success manager is retention bonuses. I don't want to be that organization that just churns through clients. I want to be that organization that once we get started with each other, we stay together. Because I've got an old saying: once we connect, we're stuck with each other. That's how I look at networking, and I mean that. I want to be that organization too. That company also. Once we get connected, we're stuck with each other. Now we're just going to be partners for the rest of our lives. So a big part of our goals certainly is growth, and it's a and primarily in this B2B segment. We do some B2C stuff as well, but primarily I want to see our growth in B2B. And I want it to not only be growth in revenue and sales, but also I want that retention number to be hovering around 100%.
yeah, I like that. What is the best way for people to reach out to you to work with you?
Yeah, great question. They can certainly email me. That's Kyle@hrkyle.com. And by the way, I want to keep it simple. So send it to me. Obviously, as depending on the staff member that's responsible, I would forward to them. Or even better, you can call us 330-541-5533. And we got a funny thing that we do here, Amar. If we're available, we answer the phone. And I've learned that that's not so common in the business world anymore.
Different world nowadays.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
people, if they call, and we've had people compliment us before, that thank you for answering, because we do. If we can grab the phone, we do. And then the third way, I'm proud of this because I played a big role in building our website. So hrkyle.com is another great way to get with us.
Awesome. Kyle, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah.
Any final
Great
words before we
conversation.
wrap up?
Yeah, great conversation today. First of all, Amar, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed the dialogue. One other thing that I guess I would end on today is to say, organizations, whatever you do, make sure that your people know they're appreciated. And the best way to do that isn't through parties and pizzas and all that stuff. Demonstrate it in your actions, demonstrate it in your words, demonstrate that you trust and you respect them in the way that you interact, the way that you give feedback, and so on. That would be what I end on today because that's something that we preach heavily here.
Yeah, I love it. So that wraps up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to email Kyle@hrkyle.com. You can also go to the website, hrkyle.com. You can also call him. I didn't memorize the phone numbers, so you'll have to rewind. But if you're here, make sure to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or an agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with our team and discover how we were able to go from zero to $30 million in less than 3 years. Until then, keep on climbing.